Hello everybody, Sarah Williams here again for another live, and today we are talking about why less is more. Yep, that's right, less is always more in the world of instructional design or training and design, in any course in fact. And here's what I mean by that. So actually, I'm going to use this little carving here. Now, somebody in their wisdom could have just taken a piece of wood and used the piece of wood, looked at it and said, what a beautiful piece of wood that is and how stunning it is. But instead, what somebody chose to do is take that piece of wood and continue to carve it down and whittle it down until it became an even more amazing piece of art. Now, the piece of wood, as I said, still beautiful in its own right, but with a little bit of whittling and a little bit of finesse and a little bit of direction, that piece of wood becomes the most magnificent carving. And the same is true when we think about our online training programs. What I see happen over and over again in our online training world is people take all of their knowledge and they kind of like dump it all up and they put it into a program, and inadvertently they end up overwhelming their audience. People aren't engaged with their content, it's too much, and they end up switching off and they don't get the message at all. They don't get the transformation they were looking for. So I really want to encourage you to go through a process that I call whittling. And whittling is simply, just as I said, with the piece of wood going through and carving. Now, when a carver, I wish I'd had a carver come on today. In fact, I might do that in the future. It'd be so nice to hear from them how they look at a piece of wood and carve. But when a carver takes a piece of wood and starts to work with it, they're looking at the natural formations, the natural pieces in that piece of wood that are sort of natural beauty. The same is true for your course, right? Look at the natural pieces that really stand out for people and start to take out all the pieces that are kind of fluff. So easier said than done, right? Much easier said than done. When we have crafted our own training and we've put all our own training together, we are often like in love with every single word, right? We're in love with every single word, every single piece. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to your current students and see what pieces really resonated with them. What pieces are the pieces that have really stuck with them. You'll get comments back that give you the same thing. Oh my goodness, yes. And I tell you another way to really listen or to really hear and understand what's really sticking with people is when they are parroting that back to you. So repeating those kinds of phrases back to you, talking about that model that you shared. All of those kinds of things are great indicators on places where you should be really honing in on. Now, when you're going through a process of whittling, you want to go through all of your material and you want to look at how you might take 20% of that out. It's usually a good original target. So by taking 20% of it out, you might be looking at how you could take out some of the extra wording, for example. You know, maybe you kind of doodle around the topic a little bit and don't get there as fast as you could. So possibly you can do a little bit of whittling there. You might take out an exercise or an activity that no longer makes sense to have in there. You might take out a whole lesson because it's just preamble and not necessary. Usually, I have yet actually, I was going to say usually, most people have too much in their course. I have yet to find a course that has too little. I have yet to see a course that under-delivered. So most people over-deliver and therefore also tend to overwhelm. So this process about thinking about less is more is incredibly, incredibly helpful. So today's thought is, how are you going to go through the process of whittling? And I'd love to set you a wee challenge. And that is just simply to take one of your modules that you already have in existence, or if you don't have a course yet, take a video that you've shot, I'm sure you've done one of them, or a webinar that you've done. And I want you to go through it with a whole new lens, looking at that piece of learning with a whole new lens. I want you to think about how that piece of learning might be able to be whittled down. So go through it with a kind of fine-tooth comb and think, okay, I could cut that out, I could cut that out, cut that out, cut that out. Now, I know what's going to come up next is people are going to go, but Sarah, it's an hour-long webinar. How, if I whittle it down, it won't be an hour anymore. Yeah, okay, I've got you there. So if you find that there is things that you can remove and you're whittling down and you can remove them because you've got unnecessary fluff in there, then you can think about, how could I drive that point home even more? So then you can do the opposite of whittling down, which is doubling down. So you can double down and you can go deeper into that particular point. So that's my ideas for today. Less in the learning world is always more. And trust me, this took me, I would say, 10 years to learn this. I'm still learning it, if I'm really honest. There are times when I blow things out of all proportions as well. But if I go back through and I make sure that I do several reviews over the content that I'm creating, you can guarantee that it will not end up being too bloated, and it will be that beautiful, finely carved piece of art that I was trying to create in the first place. All right, that's it from me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think, marks my 30 days of this challenge. So I might try and do something special. I will keep you in suspense until then. But in the meantime, I'm Sarah Williams. And as we say here in New Zealand, ka kite anō. I will see you again really soon. Bye.